Okay, so, hello guys, it's me, Gaming Star here, and today I am back with another episode of the Greatest Attorney to Resolve. Last time, we had basically started off the final chapter. The final chapter. So, yeah, and we did the first part of the trial, and we also did the final dance of deduction. So, yeah, this one, and we found Jigoku hidden in a luggage. Yeah, so we found him, and now he's gonna be in court. So this time we're gonna go ahead and, well, see what he has to say about him trying to avoid, well, conviction. Let's see how this goes. Kazuma Asagi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. Unicorn gavel. During the past 30 minutes, while his court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expanded. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts cannot be ascertained. We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for the immediate verdict. Bitch nah! No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You too. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony, and there can only be one conclusion: that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. I know who it is. We found them. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way, and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Seishiro Jigoku. The very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Jigoku, you found him? Oh yeah, we found them, boys. But the investigations of every policing source of the capital suggest Jigoku's already dead. Nah, bitch. You didn't look hard enough. How in the name of God did you find that man? Oh. He was located in France during the recess, at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death, because along with Prosecutor Isogi, Gregson was on the mission to assassinate the man. Same with you. Which means that Seishiro Jigoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Well, it would appear it is too soon to move to the jurisdiction at this point. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until testimony has been considered. Hey, Mario! In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side? No, my lord. No objections, my lord. We live at another day by the skin of our teeth. Well. Woo. So, yeah, I ended it there last time. Technically, I should have ended it here last episode, but it was pretty late. It was like 12 o'clock in the morning for me, so that's why I did that. But, let's go ahead and save. Boys. There we go. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. Then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. We all got food. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Thank you nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more wearing day than Mikatoba and I know. You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in the court earlier. So this prosecutor, Isogi, had you on the ropes, did he? He's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Nadahodo. Fuck, I choked. I mean, it's incredible to think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Well, nevertheless, you might introduce me. You'll introduce me after all. I've only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hadn't told us the truth about what really happened back then, about the motivation for what himself described as a great detective's lie. Oh, we're gonna steal some tooth out of you, boy. Now, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it's another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what's the news of Judge Jigoku? We took him to Scotland Yard. The investigating detectives, there are a lot of questions for the man. Poor Professor Mikotoba. It's quite a shock for him. Ah, yes. I picked this up at the telegram office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already. Pulled up on the matter only yesterday. You put it up on me, Miss Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan to foot the bill as well. Oh, you've had to apply already? Hey, Mario! What's so urgent, though, Mr. Sholmes? Mario! Such matters came in until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news, because supper's all ready, everyone. Ah, what a feast it is. If I were none of the wiser, I'd think the trial were run already. Roast beef, kipper, stew, steak, and kidney pie. Yorkshire pudding. Kidney! No, please. Tomorrow could be a very long day. Oh, yeah. So eat up. It's gonna be a very long one, trust me, boys. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be only so sense of helping a pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Why ever not? This place is thing. Yeah, and this place, it's for Susie's daddy. For me? That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. I see. Oh, that's terribly kind of you. Oh, Mickey. I love that. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Well, for a brief moment I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh! Hades, do you mean... Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened to the conversation you had after I tricked you into thinking I'd left. What? Sholmes. Alright. So we have a little calm before the storm right now. Misunderstanding arose because of an autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Edith's father. Who is it really? Yes, about that, Edith. You know, I know. You can tell me the moment. Oh, Hades. The pheasant has by the way an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh, no, it's quite alright. Then why don't I get any apology, pheasant? So just who is Edith's father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. Maybe tomorrow. In game time. So then let us dine. This is hot. Fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. As much as you like. There are only seconds. That's a big ass pheasant. It's going to be our last chance to ask me a question for tomorrow. What about a telegram for Japan? And about Kazuma? Get us opportunity to slip away. Let's talk. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Surely it's abundantly clear that I was abroading where Mikotoba refused to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw the social circle for a while, look in the hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, and I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I played the role of father for you far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood of spill conversation. No doubt. Is your hunger delivering my deep love of game? I can probably contain my curiosity over that one. Alright, let's talk. Yeah, look at me in that fashion. When fashion. It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some pheasant matters to discuss. Oh god, the stupid pun. Alright. Let's talk. The telegram from Japan. So, what was that telegram you received back from Japan then? Ah, this. I think my lucky stars arrived in time. Record found and is indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. What? Those 4 names? We've come across the exact same list before. Remember? They came up in that unforgettable case last spring. Yeah, the murder of the Mr. Pop in the bank. It appears to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be a masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means that those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered the fragments of message. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. So if you order it like this, let's zoom in a little. If you order it like this, K. Asogi, T. Gregson. Asogi was supposed to kill Gregson, right? And A. Shin supposed to kill J. Wilson. So only one of the transactions actually turned out to happen. A. Shin, J. Asogi, aka Giselle Brett, and J. Wilson. Those are the only two that actually turned out to be, this assassin, this is a target. This assassin, this is the target, basically. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over. We never got to the bottom what they meant. All we knew was that the British information was somebody in the British government and somebody in Japan. We know who it is now. So, where are the names coming up again? Yes, where did the sender telegram discover them, Mr. Scholes? I have here the message I had yesterday. Allow me to read it for you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communications from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. Sent to the detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hosanaga to take such a enormous task for you? And in my name? I wonder what guys he opted for this time. Genuine wonder. My dear fellows, it's a matter of great urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names we found in Shishido's office, as Scholes predicted. So you mean that the mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was an assassin exchange? It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list names actually signifies. I have a feeling I know what it is. It kind of like it's an exchange. Basically, kind of like, oh, this assassin, this is a target. Assassin, target. Basic. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. It's an assassin exchange. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. It's an assassin exchange. Mr. Scholes looks deadly serious for once. Telegram. Kazuma's death. Tell us, bro. That tragedy that had to go to SS Buria. It was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cause. What? I capitalized the events that transpired to see what he was sent back to Japan. His remains, you mean? Precisely, Mrs. Seto. And then, I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean? Us. The arrangement between our two countries is already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on the study tour. In other words, by arranging someone else to fill the place originally intended for Mr. Asogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on the shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in the aid of stopping Kazuma coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Miss Naruhodo. Was there somebody who quite casually urged you to continue the voyage to England? It was you. The terms of the study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice of both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Asogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. My dear fellows, the majority of the problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. All you require is one lawyer and the study tour can continue, surely. But there's no one else with necessary qualifications, Mr. Scholes. We know no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month for time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. So, you manipulated me? I often remarked the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge of your late friend. I don't believe it! But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as a murder, and the woman who mistakenly arrested the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul to find a foreign refuge she sought. I seem to remember Miss Susato and I had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why are you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen to the impending tragedy, you see. Oh? An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand. We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes means. Oh, by the way, if you knew that ringtone, that was Gadot's theme. Yeah, that's my new phone ringtone. Sorry about that. I didn't expect that. Mr. Sholmes knows. Alright, so we're gonna have to show him the telegram, I believe, if I can recall. Look at all fucking evidence we have. Holy shit. So, small component. This small component, we know exactly what it is. It's called a crown, I believe. Evacuation drill itinerary. Telegram from Japan. Hosanaga. The telegram. There was no room for doubt. The instructions in the telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear Judge Jigoku's office should be searched, so you obviously knew there was a list of names would be found. K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learned those 4 names just over 6 months ago now, and only because they appeared as part of top secret government communications that were leaked in the music box. That's true, yes, but at the time you were unaware of that background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that, approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. It really would be hypocrisy on my part to report others who have covered any state secrets intercepting, because after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between British and Japanese governments. You're perpetually doing what? How? I don't remember the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes. When he is designed is known. Holy shit! Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line! You're basically straight up going into, oh my god, that's literally illegal. That's a criminal offense, but you're still doing it. Holy shit. Now, one month in the list 4 names were wired. There was Jigoku in Japan. Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. Yes, we know about that. As soon as I learned of the incident, a hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they're all somehow connected. Tell us the whole truth. We need to know. We're at the end. The 4 names. Oh boy. As I said, when I learned of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names because, you see, there was someone else on that list who I believe to be recently deceased. What? Who? Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asashin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known to among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed by a reporter, and accordingly became faithful to the lives of the remaining 2 persons on the list. Gregson and Kazuma. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. Owing on proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself. So you're the one that set up oh god, I just realized. But I determined it would be safe that his young Asogi were to stay away from Britain. So that's why he went to such lengths to prevent the study tour from going ahead. Man, he really... Exactly. So, you already knew what Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes. Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I recounted many tales about Asogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. So, Dr. Wilson is dead then? I'm sorry. I didn't know. Oh, Iris. I know he wasn't my daddy, but still, that's very sad. I'm so sorry, Idris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. But what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, does it completely tie in with the facts? There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes. You mean about Asashin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? She was in Japan, posing as a visiting student under the assuming name Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow. But I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ah. And upon hearing the startling revelation, the hypothesis that I formed surrounding these four names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? Topsy hypothesis. What are you talking about? What do you mean you say your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had to believe all four names on the list to be the names of victims. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Asashin was a killer. An assassin. So this telegram was a list of both victims and killers, is it? Yeah, that's what I said. I literally told you guys it was an assassin exchange. Indeed, it was saying that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. Ah! Which would, of course, explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Asashin is because he was the target of assassination? And forearmed with the knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list with a very different perspective. It makes so much more sense. What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you? There is other among the four who was so questioned that became a visiting student. Well, you mean? They're both visiting students. I even said this as early as possible. Okay, so I even said this before. I said how, I foreshadowed this as early as possible. You know how I said that, like, when we first got the telegram, I said, like, oh, like, maybe it's like killers, or maybe it's like two, like, it's always two visiting students. They're like two visiting students, and like two, like, that's what I said. I said it before because I knew, obviously. You mean Kazuma? Oh, he did say in court earlier today. And all coming together, baby. Yes, on 31st of October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. So he was a professional assassin, too. Young Mr. Silk accepted the mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts. An international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. That's what I said. An assassin exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have get involved in something like that? Assassin exchange? Boys, they were coming together. We'll assume that we have two parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. Those two parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would be an assassin exchange. So, to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target, and then the same in reverse. And then, the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. Yes, it certainly does sound like an exchange. Yeah, it is. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to the diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh, yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. The highest levels? Boys. These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive, by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly irrelevant and related, yet in truth the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That dissociation and to safeguard diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Sholmes! If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins you're suggesting, it would mean the Japanese killer's target was never Seishiro Jigoku at all! It would mean Asogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? Yeah. So Jigoku wasn't actually the mark. He never was. Because remember, because remember this, Asogi never, Kazuma never wanted to kill. He never did. He accepted it because he wanted information from Gregson. So maybe Jigoku was like, okay, you know what? You ain't doing this shit, I'ma do it. Okay, you know what? Since you're not doing it, I'm gonna have to go all the way here to do it myself, basically. That's exactly what it would mean. He did it himself. He's had to do the dirty work. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him my fears and implored him to seek transfer overseas position. I knew it! What did I tell you? Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us as great exhibition. That he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. So I was him. Goddamn, Sholmes knew from the very start. Alright, everyone. That's quite enough of all these serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. Quite right, This is a good leader preparation for tomorrow. What preparations? Oh, the trial. Well, I think it should wait it's over now. This has certainly been a night to remember. Oh, hell yeah, it has. It is. A little sad, though. I mean, I like the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie will be my big sister. I'm so sorry, Edie's. I know, Edie's. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. Why, really? Oh yes, without question. So you'll teach me the ways to know how to throw Bruno on the floor? Yes, of course. It'll be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily! Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Bruno. Oh! I mean, yes, of course, you have me. I'm glad to be your brother. Well done, Edie. You have many feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sister is so strong so naturally. Right, I'm going to work extra hard tomorrow now. Because it's my big brother and sister. For big brother and sister. What is all this about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? The trial? You just have to wait and see. Oh. Good luck in court tomorrow. I expect a sterling performance. I'll do my very best, of course. Woo, boys, that's information! So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point. Exposing new truths whilst posing new conundrums. The list of 4 names on the telegram at Judge Jigoku's office. And the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. As though it had been plunged into a new grey darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure to see the light again soon. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfast behind me. Oh my god. Alright, let's continue, boys. Okay, so, of course, we're gonna make it an hour video, because, hey, tradition. So let's go for it, boys. Ace Attorney videos always be an hour, or any very long game, for that fact. So, or 2, or 3, depends. But let's go, boys. Alright, let's begin. Here we go. Before I begin today, I have a brief announcement. As with the closed trial 10 years ago, some astonishing facts have come to light in these proceedings. The revelation that the well-known Reaper is actually an organization legally executing its own brand of justice, and the discovery that a respected yard inspector was his heart until he himself perished in the assassination plot. Well, I'd say to all members of the judiciary here present to this occasion, that we will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Counsels, you will undertake this trial and resolve to pursue the truth to the bitter end. Resolve, yes, that's my intention. My lord, if I may inquire, the defendant may speak. On what grounds is Kazuma Asoki permitted to continue his role as prosecutor? He has admitted to colluding with the victim in the plot to assassinate an innocent man. He shouldn't be enjoying the privilege of freedom, let alone be leading the prosecution. I submitted as a written petition to Lord Strongheart. requesting that judgment of my transgressions be delayed by 1 day. You did what? In today's proceedings, I intend to expose everything. My whole life for the last 10 years has all been leading up to this one day. Kazuma, whatever the outcome of this trial, I give my word that I will accept whatever punishment is deemed appropriate, however severe. And I suggest you prepare yourself for the same, Reaper! Why are you still blaming him? Kazuma is bristling with hostility today. Oh yeah. I get the distinct impression we're heading into very dangerous territory. Oh fuck yeah. Is that even Kazuma-sama standing before us? As an extreme exception to normal practices, I have granted his prosecutor's request. The defense finds this acceptable, I presume. I guess so. Yes, my lord. In that case, in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed hearing of Barack Van Zeeks. The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Very well then. This preamble has taken long enough. Prosecutor Asogi, begin. Oh boy, here we go. As you wish, my lord. The prosecution calls the first witness to the stand. Bring Seishiro Jigoku into the courtroom. At last then, we've reached the final battle. He's putting literally everything on the line now in order to get to the truth. And we're doing the same. Come on, Ryunosuke. It's time for that steady resolve, because it's gonna be tested to the limit. Oh my god, boys. This case is insane, like legit. Holy god. Alright. Witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Ha! So it was you who issued this, was it? Your subpoena. I did what was necessary. Well, look at a young man has become. I didn't think I'd see the day when you take the tone with me, I must say. The witness will ensure his responses are pertinent to the questions asked. My name is Seishiro Jigoku, a Supreme Court judge for the Empire of Japan. I'm gonna do Bowser in this. 16 years ago, the man came to London as a visiting student. 6 years later, he returned to Japan. As well as presiding over the Supreme Court, he is also currently Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. I am, of course, fully aware of Mr. Jigoku and his preeminent roles. I invited him personally to the International Forensic Science simply as representative of his country. Is this Posium? I think. But here he also played a key role in the conclusion of the Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation. It was a great honor to be involved in the negotiations. I put all of mine into that treaty. Judge Jigoku, I must ask. Well, I never fancied a young murdering student turning up here of all places. You acquitted me yourself! And now, I'm a practicing defense lawyer. Yes, I'm full of self-importance like your friends across the courtroom, I see. You came here to London by invitation to the International Forensic Science Symposium, finally, but then, without informing anyone of your plans, you took flight to France. For what reason? Took flight? I'd have to object that turn of phrase. Then explain yourself! What exactly were the circumstances? Well, I was somewhat expecting this. And I'm sorry to say, I decline to comment. What? Leaving the country prematurely when I was an invited guest may be questionable in equity. But my decision is unrelated to this case. I can't be bound to testify. Oh, you're doing that bullshit, aren't you? Oh, you're doing that. Unrelated, you say? Oh, I know what you're doing. I appreciate that respected police inspector has been killed, for I wish to offer my condolences. However, being an alien, I obviously never met the man, nor do I know the first thing about him. Bullshit, I'm calling it. I can smell it from here. As such, I'm in no position to testify. As simple as that. So you would run from all of this again? I beg your pardon. This case is far more reaching than the murder of Inspector Gregson. It reaches the entire government. It ties with another murder, a case that was tried in Japan almost a year ago now. A year ago in Japan, the murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right. And you, Judge Jigoku, are the heart of both cases. The defense has evidence to prove it. Oh, we have it, bro. Well, Ryunosuke, I see from the look in your eyes that you're resolved to carry this in the van, too. Let's see your evidence, then. What proof do you have she was involved in this case? The telegram. The telegram that dealing communication sent between Britain and Japan approximately a year ago. The communication contained 4 names: K. Asogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, and J. Wilson. Hold it! Oh! You little... Ooh! Where did you get that? In Tokyo. From your office, Judge Jigoku. What? How on earth did you... What's this all about? Why is my name on that list? This list of 4 names follows a certain pattern. T. Gregson and J. Wilson are the names of victims. K. Asogi, Shin are names of assassins. No. A year ago in Tokyo, Dr. John H. Wilson's life was taken in a Western-style restaurant in the capital. The culprit was found to be a visiting student who went by the name of Giselle Brett. But her real name was Asa Shin, a professional killer sent on a mission to kill from Great Britain. Boy, everything's coming together. A. Shin and her victim, J. Wilson. And the murderer that just took place here in London was a counterpart of that crime, an assassin sent from Japan, also visiting student Kazuma Asogi, whose victim was the British police inspector, Tobias Gregson. K. Asogi and T. Gregson. One assassin from each country to kill a target residing in another. What exactly is the defense suggesting? These 2 cases of murder, the one took place in Britain and one in Japan. Hi Mario, what are you doing down here? Were masterminded by a pair of individuals from each country as form of assassin exchange. And the telegram the defense has acquired is the proof of this international contract to kill. What? The telegram was found in your office, Judge Jigoku. In other words, the mastermind in Japan was you! Judge Jigoku? What's this all about? And you, Kazuma, you lied. During yesterday's proceedings, you acknowledged that you accepted the assassination mission, but the mark wasn't Judge Jigoku at all. It was T. Gregson, Detective Inspector Scotland Yard, as shown by the name of the killing contract. Very impressive, Ryunosuke. But actually, I didn't lie. The name of the target I ordered to kill never passed my lips yesterday. The idea that Shido Jigoku was the mark came entirely from you! Ah! You deliberately avoided saying a name? The defense claims these 4 names indicate some sort of international assassin exchange. I'm sure I speak for all present when I say that very idea seems utterly absurd. It's you, bro. We know it's you, bitch. What, Mr. Jigoku? What do you have to say for yourself? His silence, it only goes to prove his guilt. There's another very important point that this new development brings to light. There is now a distinct possibility that the scene of the Inspector Gregson's actual murder was the witness cabin aboard the SS Grouse. Judge Jigoku, you have to testify now to refuse to put in contempt of court. It's only for quite such a vicious stare, young man. Very well then, as a parting gift to you all, I'll tell you everything I know. It seems this Japanese gentleman has information that the court must hear about the alleged assassin exchange of the events of the night of the 31st of October. Present your formal testimony now. As you wish, my lord. Tell us everything, boys. Tell us everything! We need to know! Here we go. Assassin exchange. It's true that Kazuma Asogi was assigned the assassination mission 1 year ago now. The target was Inspector T. Gregson. That was a condition of the British study tour. However, in the end, something happened that he wasn't able to carry out his mission. On the evening in question, a member of the crew was on duty outside our cabin at all times. If there had been a shot fired, the crew would have heard it, so I clearly can't be involved. So you admitted then that this communication suggests there really was an assassin exchange agreement between Britain and Japan? A political endeavor at the highest levels, not something I can discuss here. Discuss it! Teams of wherever he practices foreign study coerce somebody to commit murder. It's the most appalling thing I've ever heard. appalling? Well, it's easy to judge. You are a judge. Pardon? Asogi had a reason for taking his sword to that British inspector, you know. What? Which is why he accepted the mission in the first place. Isn't that right, Council? Kazuma-sama? Judge Jigoku, if you are the mastermind behind this operation in Japan, then tell the court the identity of your counterpart in Britain! We know who it is, though. We don't have to say much. I'm not obliged to divulge that information. As I said yesterday, I've killed nobody. I freely admitted that I accepted the mission, but unlike I planned to be executed, I backed out. To be executed. In short, this assassin exchange of defenses identifies related to the events of this case. The crucial point is, your police inspector can't perish aboard the steamship in Dunkirk. Because they had a shot in the cabin, it's conceivable that a member of the crew would have heard it. But unless... That's right, Gregson was killed after returning to London, in the room in Frenzel Street. No, he wasn't. That was a fabricated place. The perpetrator of the crime, that was fabricated scene of the crime. Perpetrator of the crime was Reaper Barak Van Zeeks. The prosecution accusation remains unchanged. I swear to God, Asogi! Think that seemingly innocent foreign exchange programmee was a facade for such a Machiavellian dealings. Clearly it's a plot only government minister and high-ranking judges such as witness could hope to execute. Standing right in front of us! Two of them, both! Oh gee, I wonder who it is! Right there! Well, seem to recall that it was someone on the British side who controlled everything. Ooh! Be that as it may, it's not a place for the court to pursue the villainous assassin exchange plot. We are concerned only with the tangible events pertaining to the murder, Inspector Gregson. Is the defense clear on this point, Counsel? Mario! Yes, my lord. I'll keep that in mind as I cross-examine the witness. But we know for a fact who it is. Obviously, I don't have to say it. I mean, you already know. I don't have to say it, do I now? You can say it with me. All right, here we go. So we know he said it's bullshit, especially in statement 4 and 5. So let's go to 4. On the evening of question, the member was outside of the cabin at all times. Where, bitch? Woohoo! Evacuation drill notice. The same day, following departure to Port Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble the main deck at 10 p.m. Note to review evacuation procedures. The drill will take 20 minutes. Crew to resume duties as soon as the drill is over. Objection! Boy! Yes, as the Corps has heard, there was a crewman posted outside Jigoku's cabin. However, we can be sure that, contrary to the witness's claim, the guard wasn't there at all times. Why? I have here a notice. A particular event that was scheduled to take place aboard a steamship at the 31st. Where did you get that? As evidence gathered by Mr. Herlock Schultz. You were acquainted yesterday, if you remember. Herlock Schultz again. According to this itinerary, after leaving the port of Dunkirk at exactly 10 p.m. and the period for 20 minutes, all crewmen of the SS Grouse were to gather on deck for evacuation drill. All crewmen were away from their post! And during that 20-minute interval, of course, any gunshots emanating from your cabin would have been heard by no one. That's true. In summary, Judge Jigoku, you had ample opportunity to commit the crime! Ah!
Objection!
A 20-minute window of opportunity? That's the excellent finding, Yunosuke. But it amounts to nothing. Why? Because the witness clearly stated in his testimony that there was no incident occurred in his cabin. Unless you have some decisive evidence that can show the testimony to be false. Actually, I do. The accusation is nothing more than conjecture. Very true. Well, counsel. Actually, I have something. Inspector Gregson was killed in Jigoku's that night. I'm certain of it. But let's go ahead and check the clock. 4 pages of evidence now. There we go. Remember this. Point. Now that we have the crown of the do this. Boop. Perfect fit. A perfect fit. I knew it. There we go. Do that, that's gonna be important. And we did it. So, do that, because you're gonna need this. Let's go. Because the defense has evidence to prove it. I do. Present the defense at once. What proof do you have? Victim's life was taken at Jigoku's cabin on October 1st. The small component, which was found in his cabin and is actually the missing crown, Inspector Grex's pocket watch. Ow, fuck my phone! There we go. Judge Jigoku, this was found in your cabin yesterday. What is that? The crown of a pocket watch. Pocket watch. And if you will observe, the victim's pocket watch, which we now treasured, is missing precisely the part. It can't be! Moreover, this crown is a perfect fit on the spindle protruding from the victim's watch. Ooh. Now, the fact that this was retrieved from Judge Jigoku's cabin tells us that the victim's watch is almost certainly broke there. Yeah, you're lying, bitch. In other words, the victim was killed on the 31st during the 20-minute evacuation drill. In the cabin occupied by you, Judge Jigoku! Wow, you're razor sharp, aren't you, you young murderer? I murder no one! Do I look like I could murder anyone? I have weak little noodle arms. I explain maneuver, Ryunosuke. And your argument sounds entirely plausible. At first. What? Aw, come on. But I like this pocket watch. It's full of cracks. What? It still works! And I believe Judge Jigoku feels the same way. I was wrong to acquit you earlier in the year. Sorry? If I'd known it would result in anyone having to listen to this drivel, I would have declared you guilty just to spare away ridiculous bombast. Bro! I think it's clear that the witness will have to give further testimony. When you hear that actually happened in my cabin that night, you will notice the pitfall in which you stumbled. Where, boy? Prior to your testimony, you could clarify 1 point. The fact that this part of the victim's watch discovered in your cabin means that you acknowledge he was there, I presume. Yes, I do. Very well, then. You proceed to give your formal testimony about what exactly happened in your cabin aboard ship in the evening of 31st of October. Of course. As a matter of the law, I have no intention of obscuring justice. Says the man! Says the man that literally committed murder inside his own cabin with a gunshot on the wall! Ah? What about it? What about it? I had a guest waiting for me when I returned to my cabin after finishing my evening meal in the dining room. When I walked through the door, a mustachioed Englishman was there, foolishly waving a gun at me. Excuse me, what? I soon took care of him with a Ipo ensayo trovo. He caught ways and ran away after that. I imagine his watch was broken when I threw him over my shoulder. It was nothing to do with his murder. The inspector was killed having returned to Britain because his body was found in London. But wait, Ippon soy, seoi. A common jutsu martial arts technique in my country. I was careful not to use too much force, but the man obviously landed too heavily to watch to take. So, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I imagine you can see the flaw in your logic now, can't you? What? The fact that the pocket watch was broken in the witness' cabin. There's no way proves the victim's murder took place there. What? Oh, that's fucking intent to kill me. But he didn't manage to pull the trigger. Yes, because he was merely a tactician, not the Reaper's hand of death. Well, the testimony appears perfect sense as far as I can tell. No, it doesn't! There's something wrong with it. Let me express my deep gratitude. Your understanding, my lord. But if the testimony holds, Judge Jigoku will be deemed to have no involvement in this case. Well, counsel, from the reasons to cross-examination. Oh, we're gonna do it, boy. Sorry, my lord. The defense has a right to cross-examine, and I don't intend to squander that. You're an embarrassment to your countrymen, not knowing when you're beaten. In that case, proceed, Miss Naruhodo. Boy, let's press something, shall we? Alright, number 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inspector was killed, but wait. I have an idea on one way he could have snuck it in. Do you guys remember the luggage? Do you guys remember the big-ass luggage? Do you guys remember how he brought in this, how I pointed out, like, the very first, the very beginning of this case, the very beginning of, like, this previous case, how, like, straight up, like, he carried out this big-ass luggage. Like, why would you need a luggage that big for? Like, almost as if you're trying to hide, like a body or something in there. Oh, gee, maybe you are. But there's no evidence to prove the victim never returned to London alive. Just take a moment to think the idea of yours was no strictly. What? If the inspector was killed in a steamship in France, how on earth could I have gone back to Britain? Well, When people die, their bodies remain in the same spot. It's a devil of a thing. Not always! Not always! Well then, obviously the culprit must have moved the body. How exactly? Carrying a corpse off the ship in your arms could raise a few eyebrows at least, don't you think? But there is a way. Without being spotted. Well, yes, that's true, but all passengers' luggage is inspected and unloaded from rival vessels. And I would like to think that the border police would have cleared the corpse of an English gentleman as a hand luggage. If you were a normal person, but if you're a Minister of Foreign Affairs, you wouldn't have to be checked, now would you? If it took place in a warship, you would imagine the body was disposed of to sea. There would be no sense in risking being caught attempting to transport the body back to Britain. That killed the idea then. But perhaps not, Mr. Seto. We've heard the first-class passengers were under constant scrutiny of crewmen posted on guard on, which would mean that the culprit had an opportunity to dispose of the body at sea. That's true. Yes, that's true. So transporting the body to Britain may have been only a viable alternative. Dear me, you really are new to this, aren't you? I thought of it perfectly clear. It seems I'm going to have to explain in words you can understand. I think I'd alter my testimony with your consent, my lord, of course. I have no objection. State your amended testimony now. There's no possible way I could have transported the victims, of course, that's Britain. Oh, wrong button. Oh gee, I wonder why you have this big ass luggage with you. Oh gee, I wonder. Look, listen. There are people that carry big ass luggages of clothes with them. That's true, but like, it's a bit too much now, is it? A bit too much. Looks like you could carry a body in there if you put it in deep enough. Objection. There's no possible way you could have moved Inspector Gregson's body, you say? I call that bullshit. I call that mierda. I would say the opposite is true. And what's that supposed to mean? Far from being impossible to do. The transporting Inspector Gregson's body back to Britain is something only you could do. What are you talking about, Yunosuke? As well as being a judge, Mr. Jigoku is also Japan's Minister of Foreign Affairs. Which means he's exempt from having his luggage searched as it enters the country. We learned that when we first met you upon your arrival in London. You have a big-ass luggage. Well, all these passport checks and luggage searches at the border took a rather long time. I agree with that, trust me. I've had those before. I went to foreign countries, so I can agree with this. It's pain. I must say, I'm very envious of your ministerial status. You didn't go through any of that, did you? Oh, I knew you were jealous. I presume you recall this, Judge Jigoku. Commemorative photo. This photograph we took at Florida Hotel to mark the occasion. What I find really funny is that just imagine straight up, like you're like, oh, look at this nice little photo, and then suddenly you see like a screen above your head that says, it's added to the court record as evidence, and you're like, wait, what? Wait, what? It's an innocent looking photo. What does it have to do with anything? And you realize, oh shit, it does have to do with something. Oh, sweet God. As Sakura will know, you have with you your large travel trunk. That's a big boy. Large enough, in fact, to have a corpse inside. But Mr. Tadahodo, surely you're not suggesting... Oh, I am. I'm afraid I am, yes. He put it in there. 3 days ago, when we were chatting, incidentally, new arrivals from Japan in the hotel. The body of Inspector Gregson was just meters away from us, inside Judge Jigoku's trunk. Order in court. I'm skeptical counsel. A grown man's body could fit inside even the largest travel trunk. It could? Because I happen to know the witness himself, a man of considerable size, fits inside his trunk. And verifying that would be extremely simple. Wouldn't it, Judge Jigoku? But inside his trunk? How horrifying. And after we spoke with you at Great Waterloo Hotel, you had the opportunity to visit the apparent scene of Frenzo Street. Taking your trunk with you in the cab to deposit the inspector's body. I don't have to listen to this nonsense. Dr. Gory, the coroner who examined the body, was confirmed this possibility. She acknowledged there is a sign that steps may have been taken to disguise the true time of death. The onset of the body's decomposition would have been delayed by storing it in the refrigerator. Counsel, as I remember explaining yesterday, refrigerators in the requisite size are few far in between. Yes, I'm sure they are. But one place they're certainly found is on large ocean liners. Such ships are equipped with electrically refrigerated cold rooms to keep food fresh on their long sea voyages, and the SS Grouse is no exception. Professor Mikatoba told me of it only yesterday. Well, Judge Jigoku. You pissed, bro? You mad? However much you prolong this debate, you can't eliminate the truth. You put it in there somehow. All the evidence points to you being the killer. Wow, this is all very heartening. I can see that this is a wise move, letting Isogi and you embark on the study tour. What are you talking about now? Logical reasoning, of course. Our court proceedings will build logical reasoning in new century. And I can see that you've both laid firm foundations to it already. Judge Jigoku, please stop diverting attention from the issue at hand. The defense has made an accusation against you. How do you respond? Respond? There's really no need for me to respond, is there? Why ever not? Because before you even begin to answer the question of when the victim was killed, you must first establish one key fact. Where was the victim killed? It's quite logical. The actual scene of the crime. The prosecution's stance is unaltered. The killing took place in Fresno Street when the gunshot was heard. No, we already proved that's impossible. As the accused, Barack Von Zeke shot the victim at point-blank range. Since no tangible evidence existed to prove the prosecution's claim at this time, the defense deductions amount to a little more than an elaborate fairy tale. Oh, fuck you! I'm afraid that's the only logical reasoning the British are known for really works, young stripling. I'm a young chicken nugget, but I'ma tell ya! I'm a young chicken strip, but I'ma tell ya you're wrong! The victim was shot at a little room in Fresno Street and died instantly. I'm a young little kikiriki, and I'm gonna tell ya, bitch! I'm afraid the prosecutor claimed that's only fairy tale here. How can you say that? I'm a little kikiriki, but I'm gonna tell you why. Quite simply, because the claim directly contradicts a certain piece of evidence in your possession. Very tantalizing, counsel. You're being better explained to your court. The prosecution claims Inspector Gregson died instantly when he shot the scene of Fresno Street. But evidence clearly contradicts the claim. Holy shit. Photograph of the victim. Notice how he's curled into a ball. Notice that. He's curled up in a fetal position. So.
Take that!
A photograph of the victim, very location you claim he wasn't killed. Yes, but the point is the posture of the body itself. If Inspector Gregson had been shot there in that room, it's out of the question his body would have been curled up in a ball like that. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but your logic is flawed. You could easily have adopted a fetal position due to the pain of the shot, which eventually proved fatal. Where was he shot? Bitch, where? No, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Judge Jigoku, but it's your logic that's flawed. What? According to this autopsy report, the victim died instantly. He would have felt no pain, much less from able to draw himself into that position. That's true. Ah! Which begs the question of why is the victim's body curled up that way? Though the answer should have been clear by now. You're suggesting... Oh, I am. The inspector's body took in a posture ahead of his arrival in Fresno Street before it was coldly turned over on the floor from the inside of a large travel trunk. No! You're quite right. The shape of the body, it looks exactly as it's been kept in a confined place. Judge Jigoku, present your trunk for examination. I believe it's very possible that it will contain traces of the victim's blood. Gah! Present my trunk. I refuse. What? On what grounds? I'm the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Empire of Japan. I shouldn't have to put with this treatment just because of stripling's baseless accusations. They're not baseless. In other words, Judge Jigoku, there's blood in your trunk. I decline to answer that. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I have privileges. At the moment, you're not a government minister. You're a witness in trial of Britain's highest court. I don't care who you are or what your status outside the courtroom might be. You will not withhold information. Nothing is more important than the truth. Yeah! Bro. Order in the court. Well, Mr. Jigoku, what's it to be? You can't be serious. You did it? Have you no shame at all, Kazuma Sogi? What? Very well. I admit it. I did bring the inspector's body into the country. Inside my trunk. Exactly as postulated by the defense. What? You? Dear God, outrageous! So it was you! You admit to Inspector Grex's murder! No! I admit to nothing more than what I've said. Of killing the man, I certainly have no recollection. You're lying. What on earth is the cryptic statement supposed to mean? I merely disposed of the inspector's body, which was left in my cabin. In order to avoid unwanted attention, as the judicial assistant over there pointed out, I had no chance to throw into the ocean. So I decided my only option was to bring it to Britain with me to dispose of somewhere else. At Fresno Street. You still can't deny it! If you didn't do it, then who on earth did kill the man? As you know, there was one other person in my cabin that night. He had the opportunity. And moreover, he already accepted a mission to take the inspector's life. Oh! That's right. Who else could it have been? It was you, Kazuma Sogi. Holy shit, boys. I never thought you stooped to this, Seishiro Jigoku. You've taken the words straight out of my mouth, prosecutor Kazuma Sogi. You thought by leaving the body in my cabin you could pin the crime on me, did you? Well, the prosecution counsel has already admitted to visiting the witness cabin the night in question. Yes, on an assassination mission, no less. You wouldn't! So, what do you make of that, young stripling? Young Kikiriki, you've heard my testimony, now is all to say in the matter. I admit to nothing more. I don't believe this! Counsel, what is your position now? The court awaits your response to his assertions. I really want those elements over there near the side of the room, goddammit. So in the night in question, the victim's dealing with Mr. Kazuma Sogi. This isn't the dead end it seems to be. The answer is right in front of me. It comes down to Jigoku or Kazuma. Both of them have opportunity to kill Gregson, but only one of them did it. It's not Kazuma, because we know he didn't kill, that's for sure. Step away from proving who. Very well. The defense is ready to respond to the assertion put up for Jigoku. The idea of it could have been committed by Prosecutor Sogi is impossible! Judge Jigoku, let me remind you of something you said only a few minutes ago. You claim the logical reasoning is a feature of the judicial process. It is. No question. Mario, come here, my boy. Logical reasoning can prove something else. It's bullshit! Namely, that it would have been impossible for Prosecutor Sogi to commit the crime. What? The court will only accept the argument if supported by compelling evidence. So presently what you have, counsel, was proof of his involvement. The evacuation drill itinerary, I don't have much to say about that except that. Ho-ho. The itinerary for crew members is grouse, my lord. This is conclusive proof. Hi, Mario. The itinerary, how does that prove anything? Hi, Mario. Judge Jigoku, the moment you acknowledge that you found the victim's body in your cabin, this itinerary suddenly became much more significant. What? Why? On night in question, as always, the crewman sentry was a guard outside your cabin door. As long as he was there, nobody could have fired a shot inside your cabin. Absolutely, because it's conceivable that the guard wouldn't have heard it and come to investigate. So that tells us that the crime must have taken place and the guard was elsewhere. That narrows it down to 20 minutes just after 10 o'clock to indicate his itinerary. Yes, it's enough flaw in your reasoning so far. But the crucial point is, when the evacuation drill took place, Mario! No steamship already put to sea at Port Dunkirk. Mario. There we go. Now, clearly the murder could only have been committed by somebody who was aboard the vessel at the time. The prosecutor Sogi stated in yesterday's proceedings. I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson to disembark the ship. I spent the night at a boarding house in town and returned to England the following morning. I'm a Mario. Aww. So I'm sure the court will agree in conclusive proof that Kazuma Sogi couldn't have possibly have carried out the killing. Yeah! We're in it. We're gonna break that stand later. No, absolutely not. I do not accept that at all. What do you mean? That boy just saying next door to himself. We can't trust when he really disembarked that vessel. Obviously, after he left my cabin, he hid himself somewhere nearby on the ship. Just waiting for his chance to come back and finish the... That's not out of the question. Isn't it, Kazuma? As the defense rightly recalls, I disembarked the vessel and spent the night in the boarding house in Dunkirk. And as I said yesterday, I signed my name in the accommodations register book. All extremely easy to verify and undeniable proof. No, There's no escape this time. You can't forget that you're a judge or a government minister. It's time you gave the court an honest answer as a common man. You killed Inspector Tobias Gregson and transported his corpse back to Britain. Then you dumped the body in the room of Fresno Street and made it look as though the murder had happened there. That's what really happened, isn't it, Seishiro Jigoku? It was that damn trial 10 years ago. That's when it all began. Oh, this breakdown though. Looking back now, my face decided that day I was doomed already. Oh god. And he broke the stand. Oh my god. The dude broke the stand in half with his bare hands. Gloves. It's over. My life is over. Holy shit. Dude just broke the stand with, like, God. Again. A British assassin to eliminate a professor in Japan. A Japanese assassin to eliminate a detective in Britain. Both assassins will use diplomatic immunity to evade conviction and return safely to their homelands. The assassin exchange requested arrived from Britain about 1 year ago. Though it was hardly a request, it was a demand. And for that, you decided to recruit Mr. Asogi. But things didn't go according to plan. Your chosen assassin never made it to Britain. And you found yourself unable to dispatch a replacement, because I was already on my way to Britain at the time in Kazuma's place. And that left me with the only one option for carrying out my obligation. To eliminate the mark myself. Of course, there was not but a single opportunity for me to do that. The International Forensic Symposium, I presume. That's right. I decided it would be safest to carry out the plan before my arrival to Britain, so I enlisted the help of my British counterpart, and made arrangements for a pretext that would make the inspector at Dunkirk. To lure the man in, he was given a sham mission by the Reaper. Ooh. What? The Reaper? But there's only one person who could have done that. The man masterminded the entire operation. The Reaper himself. Ah! So, that means the assassin exchange was all planned by the Reaper? I'm not at liberty to say anything about my British counterparts. We know who the British counterparts are, I don't have to say anything about that. Anyway, the inspector accepted the Reaper's mission and dutifully infiltrated my cabin in the steamship. But it was all a trap designed to lead him to France to his own death. Oh, how awful. It was past 9 o'clock when I returned to my cabin from dining hall that evening. As to give him the time to attack me, I choked him until he lost consciousness. But there was a guard just outside the door, so I left it at that for the time being. Even the slightest noise might have aroused suspicion, so I bided my time waiting. 4 to 20 minutes after 10 o'clock. I had intended to finish him by strangulation, but moments before I had the chance, he suddenly came around and went for me in a reckless move. I'd received the British-issued gun 16 years earlier, being a member of the judiciary as a visiting student. I never imagined I'd have to use it for something like that. So the revolver belongs to you, does it? Why did I need a gun for? Then the victim was killed inside your cabin on Nass's grouse. Which begs the question, why you arranged to see his body to be discovered in the room of Fresno Street? The young judicial assistant over there has already answered that question. There was no way I could take out the body on the deck and throw it on the side. That's precisely where the crewmen were gathered for the evacuation drill. So before the first cabin sentries returned, I took the corpse to the refrigeration room. Did nobody even notice? And then on arriving in Dover, you concealed the body in your trunk in order to smuggle it past the border police. Did not a single kitchen, not a single person in the goddamn refrigeration just went, oh shit, there's a body. Nobody saw it? I guess nobody goes to the refrigerator. Smuggle it past the border police. I knew I needed to take steps, and the police were to be concealed in London was found a body in London. And in that case, you must have known. You must have had imminent details of Inspector Grexon's intended schedule. Yes, my British counterpart decided to me everything I needed to know. The inspector was due in Fresno Street at 5 o'clock this afternoon in order to meet by the name of Hugh Boone, from whom he would take his police identification. I decided that man would be a perfect person to set up as a culprit, so I took a hackney carriage over there with the body still in my trunk. But Van Zeeks was the accidental culprit instead. That must have been after we took this photograph of you in the hotel, then. Oh god. That's what I was expecting welcoming committee. I was more than a little nervous. I was more nervous than him! At Fresno Street, I spotted a young girl selling a little firecrackers. Miss Venus, of course. I conceived of the candle trick there and then, so I donned a simple disguise and approached the girl to buy the firecrackers to replicate the gunshot. What sort of disguise? The wig. For some reason, the inspector had bright red hairpiece in his little traveling case. I put it on, although I suspect I drew more attention to myself than I would have otherwise. The hairpiece was found at the scene. The inspector had already red-headed league investigation. I only arrived at the room at around 4:45, so I quickly placed the body on the floor, moved the notice board and set up a little candle trick. I arranged it so the firecrackers would go off with a bang around 15 minutes later, so that Mr. Boone, who was to arrive at 5, would walk straight into the trap. But instead it was Van Zeeks, except at the last moment, I made a careless blunder. What was that? I imagine it was the bag of fish and chips. I didn't notice that it had fallen out of his overcoat pocket when I moved the body to the refrigeration room. I put it back into his pocket the following morning, but... well, it seems it was warm for the heated cabin had accelerated the decay of the fish. The fish and chips saved the day, boys! Anyway, the fish and chips were so dedicated to Mr. Gregson that it helped find out when he really died. Goddamn fish and chips. You are the hero of the story. Anyway, that's everything. All the sordid details of what I did. Well, so now we know exactly who killed Gregson. But the rest is not over yet. It's not. So that's over. I've heard enough. We've arrived at the truth about the murder of one of the country's most capable and respected police inspectors. The witness will be tried in the coming days. For crime of such a vile nature, you can expect the most severe penalty. An exchange of assassins. What a foolhardy idea. Foolhardy idea. Mr. Jigoku, one last detail. Who was your counterpart in Britain? Who was the mastermind behind the assassin exchange? Nothing you say can make matters any worse for you. Just tell us. Enough! I've already told you that I cannot say. Even though, as things stand, you may very well never set foot in your homeland again. What are you waiting for? Can't we get this over with now? It's finished. All of it! I'm finished. I don't know why, but I'm thinking of, like the I'm finished! I'm so dumb. Then in the name of Her Majesty the Queen, and now pronounce the findings of this court. This man before us has admitted to the willful murder of Tobias Gregson. Bonk. Okay. Seishiro Jigoku. This is the opinion of the court that you should be found guilty. Alright. So we got that case out of the way. I may remind all the present of strict confidentiality demanded of the closed court. And he broke the stand again. There goes the stand. Oh god. What about the stand? You have to pay for that again. Moments ago, Mr. Jigoku signed a written confession, admitting to the murder of Inspector Gregson and the subsequent conveyance of the body. In short, the defendant's innocence was therefore been established beyond doubt. Oh, wonderful! Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, thank you. Is something wrong? I'm just a little troubled by his silence. The true identity of the Reaper of the Bailey. In this extraordinary assassin exchange, we do remain in the dark about these mysteries. However, in so far of the indictment brought against the defendant in this trial, we have reached a conclusion. I have every intention of pursuing both mysteries. As a prosecutor. As you wish. Now, for the formal I can't remember, You're about to declare the defendant Brock Van Zeeks.
Objection.
Oh, come on! Damn it, Kazuma! The prosecution calls for adjudication to be the first. Fuck off! Counsel? The accused's innocence hadn't been fully established at all. It did, though. It did, though. And therefore, it would be wrong to deliver a verdict at this time. And his prosecution's unwavering position. Oh my fucking god, you piece. What? But Judge Jigoku has already confessed. Oh my fucking god. Nevertheless, Brock Van Zeeks has committed crimes with which he must be punished. Well, it would appear you have information the court needs to hear, Prosecutor Soyu. Certainly, the murder of Inspector Gregson was actually carried out by Seishiro Jigoku. But it's clear from the witness testimony that he was concerned to comply with the plot. Oh my fucking god, please. We know who it really is! We know it's a group of people. We know it's a group of people. Tobias Gregson was one of the arms of the Reaper. We know that for sure. But who really was it? The man, Strongheart, most likely. That may be true, but... So what I want to know is, where's Jigoku? Who was pulling the strings? Oh my god. The victim went to France having been ordered on a mission for the Reaper, only to be murdered. In other words, the mastermind behind the assassin exchange so positioned to give such an order. Oh, fuck you, bitch. As we've already established, the Reaper himself. Well, certainly, that would appear to follow. The prosecution hereby formally accuses the man Brock Van Zeeks of being the Reaper of the Bailey, and furthermore, oh my god, I'm gonna prove his guilt beyond all reasonable doubt. What? What? Oh, bitch, it's over. You should know it's over when it's over. And you complain about me? Oh. The Reaper of the Bailey is a long-standing mystery, Counsel. Suggests you have information which has built the case. Scotland Yard has already investigated Lord Van Zeeks very thoroughly in the regard. And they found no evidence of whatsoever to substantiate the claim that he was the Reaper. Perhaps. But circumstances have now changed. What do you mean? It's already been established that the assassin exchange was negotiated with Jigoku by the Reaper himself, which means we now have a new line of questioning by which to identify definitively the man's identity. You coñetazo. It's prosecution's intention here. Vete par carajo, Kazuma. Holy shit. I must say I'm surprised by quite how tenuously you appear to want to besmirch my name. You are guilty of a forgivable crime, Lord Van Zeeks. And I will bring you to justice for it, whatever it takes. That explains Kazuma's silence before. He just petty as fuck! Was up nothing to finish when Lord Van Zeeks when we started 10 years ago. God damn. Holy shit. Very well, but it's extremely irregular. I will, on this occasion, grant the prosecution further opportunity. The defense will disclose any involvement in the House of the Reapers in exchange. I thank you, my lord, for guiding the court so wisely. That is not wise. If I declare this court to be a session for a supplementary hearing. Ay. Que mierda. But shit, though. Yeah, but I feel the same way. Pray turn a blind eye to the discourtesy as I verified this vile and unmentoring accusation. Has ensoured the contents of my hollow chalice. I love you, Van Zeeks. The leg! Lord Van Zeeks! I first had to suffer the pseudonym of the Reaper 10 years ago now. And ever since that time, I've endured a weight of implied guilt that's gone with it. So I welcome the chance to testify now and crush those allegations once and for all. Good. Then I let justice aside, Lord Van Seeks. The prosecution seeks to begin building its case, but calling the accused to stand as primary witness in order to may answer the accusation brought by the prosecution that he is the Reaper of the Bailey. Everybody says putting the defendant in the witness stand can be extremely dangerous, and Kazuma-sama is emotional at this moment that he's not thinking logically. That's true. You're right that he's not himself, but I knew it would be like this. And I came here today to determine to face him through whatever might arise, as a lawyer and as a friend. And that's what I must do. The defense has no objection, my lord. Very well. Defendant, you will take the witness stand and give formal testimony subject to your involvement with the Reaper and the assassin exchange. As you wish, my lord. Alright, here we go. The Reaper and the assassin exchange. I've never taken the life of another, nor have I instructed another to kill. I've been investigating the truth behind the Reaper for years, and I was aware of Gregson's involvement. That's the reason I went to Fresno Street that day, and how I came to discover the body. The point is, no common thread exists between myself, Gregson, and Dr. Wilson. Clearly, therefore, there's no reason to suspect me of being behind the assassin exchange. So you deny accusations about the prosecution, both that you are the Reaper of the Bailey and you mastermind the assassin exchange. I acknowledge that the public at large believe me to be the Reaper. However, that's a falsity, which I alone am in a position to forswear. Naturally, the prosecution believes the testimony must be given to the accused is untrue. Of course you do. Yes? Let me ask you, why are you here? What really brings you to this courtroom? I desire to uncover the truth. Even if the truth proves you inclined to be guilty? From all my experiences in the courtroom, I've come to realize something. Yeah, we've had McGilden. You guys remember McGilden? No, he was a piece of shit, and we found him not guilty because, well, we didn't know, obviously. We didn't know at the time, but he was guilty as fuck, He was the only real case, and also, plus, you guys remember in Justice for All, the final case was Madden Goddard. You guys remember him? Yeah. My trust of clients is kind of a bit off. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? Like, it's like, you can't exactly trust anyone 100% anymore because of that. Thank you, Ace Attorney. I couldn't realize something. The truth can't be hidden. Sooner or later, it will come out. So it's always my intention to work with my client in the pursuit of the truth. I want you to remember what you just said. English enough into chatter, because the defense proceed to cross-examine a witness. Ah, yes, my lord. I know exactly what you're thinking, Kazuma. I know what you're ready to point out. The contradiction of convinced lies somewhere in the man's testimony. So, there's no reason to suspect me of being an assassin exchange. The point is, there's no common thread between this myself and Gritz. Well, there is a hint, technically. I mean, the only thing that connects them together... The only thing that actually connects them all together is the autopsy reports. Clint's autopsy reports, the only thing that connects them together. Age 33, time of death, 31st of May, between 9 p.m. and midnight. Death from a single stab wound to the heart. Other superficial external wounds indicative of a duel. That's gonna be important. Recent scarlet ink stains visible on the little red ring fingers in the right hand, but no document corresponding ink was found. Scarlet ink. Vital evidence recovering the victim's stomach during autopsy. Credit to Inspector Gregson for petitioning for no dog leave for the autopsy procedure. No internal trauma noted anywhere in the body. Only Clint's autopsy report is the only real explanation here. It's the only real explanation we have. It's the only explanation we have. It's the only connection. What is this? An autopsy report. Wait, it's 10 years old for an autopsy of Lord Clint Van Zeeks. What? My brother's autopsy report. I'm pleased to see the defense doesn't intend to run undeniable the truth. Order in the court! What reason do you have for presenting a 10-year-old autopsy report, counsel? The autopsy report of the professor's final victim is an undeniable link between Inspector Gregson, Dr. Wilson, and the defendant. Not that accursed name again. The professor. I personally researched all the court records relating to that case. I know that at the time autopsy was considered sacrilege to the victim's souls, and for the member of the damn it! Like Lord Clan Van Six, it was unthinkable. But someone implored the powers to be allowed the autopsy to go ahead. Inspector Gregson. He declared that he was certain that he would obtain conclusive proof from the procedure, and it was Dr. Wilson who conducted the autopsy. The signature is clearly visible in the document. As promised by Gregson, the autopsy did indeed produce evidence. Almost as if it's like staged, evidence that conclusively proved Genshin Isogi was guilty of the murders. In my brother's dying moments, he mustered all his remaining strength to leave that vital clue behind. Indeed, that was the key to indicting the professor for his crimes and conclusive evidence that convicted him. It enabled Lord Van Zooks here to avenge his brother's senseless death of a marvelous victory in court. A marvelous victory, was it? I wonder if that's really true. What? Could the same be said if it turned out that the key piece of evidence in question was in fact fabricated? If the inspector, the coroner, and the prosecutor all colluded together to cast an innocent Japanese man as a mass murderer to send him to his death? That's outrageous! And now, 10 years later, for some reason the secret has been threatened and needs protecting, which is why the inspector and the coroner had to be silenced. Isn't it? By someone in the power in Japan and Britain? Using the two killers to recruit an assassin exchange! Order! Order at once! 10 years ago, my father was convicted in this very courtroom as a mass murderer, to be sentenced to death. But it was all a sham, and I swore to myself that I'd prove it, which is why I had to come to Britain. Whatever the cost! You'll have to forgive me if I feel compelled to test this vengeful Nipponese tenacity and purpose here. However, he who fails to quash his emotions in the courtroom has failed as a lawyer. Come on, Kazuma, you know this won't wash! You're claiming your father was misrepresented in a trial that took place a whole decade ago? You must see without evidence, there's nothing more than a wild accusation! As it happens, I have evidence. What?! As the courtroom has heard, I crossed the channel to France with Gregson on the 31st. I went with him the pretext of being assassin recruited to kill Seishiro Jigoku, but my true intentions were to make the inspector tell me the truth. What truth? The truth about the evidence. And he acknowledged that what I've already deduced. There's a closely guarded secret about what went on in the autopsy 10 years ago. What? A secret? I know nothing of any secret. While we waited for my supposed mark in Jigoku's cabin, I drew my clan's illustrious sword Karuma before the inspector's eyes. He very quickly understood what my true motive was. Oh, there's the luggage. Right, I see. You're that Asogi's young lad, are you? And what? They're gonna cut me down with that thing? That it? That will very much depend on the answers you give to my questions. I want to know what really happened 10 years ago. The truth. That's all. Before we get to it, let me make one thing clear. I still believe your father was the professor. There's no doubt in my mind. But unfortunately, back then, we didn't have the evidence we needed to make the crime stick. So you admit it, then? The evidence used during the professor's trial was fabricated? It was for the good of the country. Anyway, I was just following orders. You were orders? What exactly did you do? Speak! I'm not saying another word. Even if your life depends on it? That's right. Even then. So that's when the tip of the sword broke. Oh, Kazuma-sama. If the results of Clint Van Zeek's autopsy are fabricated, then the investigating officer Gregson and the lead coroner Wilson must have known about it. Or they could only have been ordered to prevent the course of justice. The man leading the case for the prosecution, Barack Van Zeeks. In other words, the defendant did have cause to organize the exchange of assassins. No! What are you on? Exactly as established earlier. It has to have been the Reaper himself who laced the Jigoku in Japan to arrange the exchange. Huh? So it follows that the Reaper's true identity can only be a man who stands accused in the court today, Barack Van Zeeks. What bullshit you cover up, bro? That's not true. We know who it really is. It's the man that's the judge! Kazuma Sogi. What? What you have just told the court? Are you absolutely certain of your facts? Did Gregson really fabricate evidence for that trial 10 years ago? I heard it with my own 2 ears. A shameful admission. In that case, I know. The name of the Reaper. What? What? Lord Van Zeeks? I gave no such orders. I know that for certain. Which narrows down to the remaining possibilities. To one! If Lord Van Zeeks isn't the one behind all this, obviously, then yes, there is only one other person who could have done something like that. I believe I know who it is, too. It's so obvious. I mean, it's right there. You? I just had a feeling the name was going to come up. I mean, I knew it was, obviously. It's so obvious. Like, I don't have to say anything. The true identity of Reaper de Bailey is... Strongheart! The only person who could have arranged the assassin exchange and manipulated the autopsy results. It's Lord Chief Justice himself, Lord Male Strongheart. What? Lord Strongheart. Yes, it's true that 10 years ago the defendant handled the prosecution of the professor in court, but he only took over the case after his brother Lord Clint Van Zeeks had been killed. I can only assume that this is the most inappropriate joke in British judicial history. It's not a joke. I'm serious, dude. I'm serious. Well, Lord Van Zeeks. I was a Clint. 10 years ago now, I was very new to my profession. But I had my burning desire to avenge my brother's death, so I pleaded for control of the case. The investigation to that point, the supplication of the lords allowed my brother's corpse to be examined. All the evidence I was given, the autopsy reports, it all came from you. I spent my life since then believing I was in your debt for the way you stood aside and let me handle the trial. But I see now, I was very much mistaken. It was a hugely influential force that caused the Spectre to the coroner to break the law 10 years ago. And that same force was still felt a decade later on the other side of the world by Seishiro Jigoku. Lord Strongheart! Everything falls into place when we recognize that you are the Reaper de Bailey! Yo, Lego! The court awaits your response, my lord. This may very well go down in British judicial history, but I assure you, it is no joke. Consider this a formal accusal by the defense. I love you, Van Zeeks, mad lad. It doesn't warrant a response. Okay, you're lying now, bitch. A formal accusal. Don't be absurd. The defense's claims are utter nonsense, a wild fantasy at best. You're not going to defend yourself? You claim there was some wrongdoings with Lord Clint Van Zeeks' autopsy? Yes. This is utterly untrue. But I heard it from Gregson's own lips. He admitted to it. And where is your evidence? What? Gregson's dead now, unless you were thinking of summoning a ghost to the stand. The fake claim, let's have a talk. You mean to say... I forgot how the system works in your little backwater country. But in the course of British Empire, without evidence, there is no case. I have no intention of portraying some wild fantasy that can possibly be substantiated by anyone or anything. Yeah! Oh, boys. Order! Order in court! Following Inspector Grex's murder and alleged Dr. Wilson's death as well, there's really no one left who could testify about the events of 10 years ago, is there? So that's the real purpose of the assassin exchange. The court has no business raking over the coals of a case that was concluded a decade ago. The accusal, rather than the prosecution and the defense, is categorically denied. I take it there is no objections. Kazuma, he's more or less waited his whole life for this moment. Is there really nothing else we can do? Is there no other avenue we can go down to pursue the truth about what happened all those years ago? If only there was someone who could testify about Clint Fancy's autopsy. There is someone, actually. He's gone to extraordinary lengths to cover his tracks, even so far as dispatching an assassin all the way to Japan to assure Dr. Wilson's silence. And Dr. Seif won't say anything against it, Strongheart. But there is one person. But there's still one ray of hope.
Objection!
Objection! I know it is! There's one person left. Actually, there is one person. One person who could still testify about the autopsy. Don't be ridiculous. There's no one left. Who, Ryunosuke? Who? Tell me. Kazuma, please, Chokenten, not yet. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing it for the truth. The person who could testify is Yuji Mikatoba. He was there. Remember, he was there during that time as the assistant alongside Scythe. He was there. So, he was the one who wrote it down. Heaven help us, another Japanese. Rude much! An expert in forensic medicine, my lord. Professor Yuji Mikatoba, 16 years ago. He came to London with Shoshiro Jigoku and Genshin Isogi as a visiting student. And what could his testimony tell us? Professor Mikatoba was the primary assistant during the autopsy in question. He was also the person who actually penned the report. Incorrect. The autopsy was carried out by the coroner. Dr. Wilson's report carried his signature. It was the primary assistant's duty to keep a written record of the coroner's work during the procedure. In actual fact, the coroner merely read over the report at the end and signed it. In other words, Professor Mikatoba witnessed the entire autopsy from start to finish. The whole thing. The defense demands Professor Mikatoba be summoned as a witness as a matter of urgency. Whatever really happened in the autopsy laboratory 10 years ago is something only he can tell us. Oh, you are... The defense demand is denied. What? But Professor Mikatoba is in London at this very moment. He could summon and stand in minutes. No, of course he's not going to agree to it. Strongheart has no intention of summoning anyone who knows. He's too concerned with protecting himself. Bitch. Prosecutor Isogi, let me refresh your memory as you seem to have forgotten the prosecution's stance. Only minutes ago, you accused the defendant of being the Reaper and masterminding the assassin exchange. I did, yes. So, please present your evidence to claim to make your case complete. At this time, I don't have evidence, but that's exactly why we need to witness testimony. The professor case is closed. There are no clues in a distant past that will bolster your argument today. I'm afraid to say, Prosecutor Isogi, that you would appear to be possessed by the spirit of your late homicidal father. Now, as stated earlier, this court has already reached a conclusion in respect to the matter of hands. Inspector Gregson was murdered by Japanese Supreme Court Judge Seishiro Jigoku. As there any hidden circumstances may exist, they will be investigated to course by proper authorities. But we know what will happen. They'll just give the mastermind the whole venture time to cover his tracks again. By which you mean me? Yes. Your punishment for this contemptible behavior will be decided at a later date. As for you, Prosecutor Isogi, you will be remanded following these proceedings. Willingly, I trust, since you gave your word. This futile game of revenge is over, young Master Isogi. God, I don't even want to bother. I'm not going to do too loud, so I don't want to bother. But sometimes I don't want to, strain. Again, I want to keep my voice, so I'm trying not to strain too far, So I'm going a bit less. That's Corey. I couldn't read that. Who was it? Shobes! Mr. Shobes! This is no place for amateur detection, Mr. Sholmes. May I remind you that these proceedings are closed to the general public? You will leave the courtroom at once.
Objection.
Keep him there! Mr. Sholmes was instrumental in the apprehension of Seishiro Jigoku before he fled from Europe. The court will hear what he has to say. Lord Mail Strongheart. It's imperative that you refrain from bringing this trial to an end at this stage. Is it really? And what would that be? You need only recall your own words from the opening of this trial to answer the question, if I may. We will stop at nothing to uncover the whole truth behind these disturbing findings. Surely it can't be that the shock of being accused of being the Reaper yourself has erased that from your memory, can it? The whole truth, sir, has already been uncovered! No, it hasn't. It would seem that we have a great many important members of the judiciary present here today. I put it to you, my dear fellows, should the trial end at juncture? After all, why haven't been invited to attend? To nod along the provocations of your superiors? Yo. Order! Order in court! It seems to me that we stand before the door that leads to a new era of legal practices. A door that is ajar. Let us emerge from the shadows of the Reaper's decade-long ascendancy. For you and you alone, my dear fellows, have the power to push this door open now. The auditors of the gallery have no rights to express any opinion on court proceedings! Silence! He's right. The judge has absolute authority here. Yes, if he calls the trial to an end, it must end. But what will that really do? I sense dark things occurring behind the scenes. Dark things indeed. Is there a single person here present who can honestly say he doesn't sense to say it? What? The trial should go on. Summon a witness. That's right. We need to clear it out before our young Japanese fellows remain in custody. My lord, you assured your present that you would uncover the whole truth here. Dictate yourself an outlandish accusation. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. That's the very foundation of British law. A toast to my dependable colleagues in the gallery. Oh, with the trial, testify! Testify! Well, my lord, you hear the voice of the British justice, I take it. I think you'll find it to be rather awkward to silence. The court will recess briefly. I have no intention of shrinking from these allegations. Looks like you were. Bailiff, erase the subpoena of the witness at once. As soon as the gentleman arrives at the courtroom, we should proceed. Erasers won't be necessary, my lord. Pardon? Mikotoba is a close friend of mine. He accompanied me today, waiting in the chamber as we speak. I do believe he's been enjoying a little trip down memory lane, in fact. What? So Professor Mikotoba's here in the courtroom? In the courthouse? Mr. Sholmes, you didn't notice what happened, did you? My dear fellow, the one who's better positioned to answer the question than you, surely. I wasn't just asking for fun of it, you know. Well, nothing to resistance to the matter, Mr. Sholmes. However, you are not here to kind of leave the courtroom at once. But of course, in truth, I found myself rather busy now as a result of these developments. Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, yes? I trust you have Edie's little lucky charm with you. Absolutely. Still in my pocket. She sends you regards, and a reminder. If you find yourself at a dead end, the years are at your disposal. Just one time, if you please. Oh, of course. In that case, this trial continue without delay. Bailiff, show the witness to the stand. Well, I think I'm gonna end it right around here because it's getting pretty long. So it's Lord Strongheart. He's the Reaper of the Bailey. Where exactly the trial's gonna take me, I wonder. Just haven't been plunged in the abyss. Well, I'm ready. I'm ready to head into the heart of the Maelstrom and confront whatever horse tries to drown me under. So I'm gonna end it right around here in the episode. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please like, comment, subscribe, whatever. And next time we're gonna go ahead and, well, do more to try. I don't know if it's gonna be end. I don't know if it's gonna be the end of it, but I think this will be the end. I think it's gonna be the final episode. So the next episode will be the final, I believe. I believe this will be the final one. So yeah, see you guys then.